Hey everybody, for those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Forrest and welcome to It's Quest Time. Now before we get going, I'm going to ask if you guys can kind of stay off of the stage area here. This way nobody blocks this big display behind me. And this way I got a little bit of room to move around with the whole hosting thing, right? Now, before we also get going, I'm going to, this is an event for Quest users, and but all are welcome. So if you're on a device, feel free to hang out. You may pick up some useful information if you're thinking about getting a Quest, or maybe something that helps out the growing Quest community in Altspace, which is always a good thing. And if we're just get started out, if I could direct your attention to your menu wheel in your lower left, you're going to notice there's a microphone icon at the top there. And when that microphone icon is clear, that means we can hear what's happening in your environment. So we've gone ahead and we turn it to red, and that means you're muted. So if somebody comes into your space and says, "Hey, are you still on that thing?" Feel free to answer them because we're not going to hear any of that. Likewise, if maybe you have a barking dog or something like that, you're not going to face social ruin back at the campfire by becoming known as the avatar who suddenly started barking during its quest time, right? Now, just because you're muted does not mean you can't express yourself. You're going to notice that you have a pink cheek smiley face emoji in your menu wheel, and when you click on it, your emoji panel opens up in front of you, and it gives you a wide variety of options with which to express yourself. So if I share something really deep, really powerful, really meaningful, and it starts to build up inside, you start to feel it, you can just let it out, just let it flow like that, right? Maybe, I got some backup dancers backstage, maybe they come out and break in this Quest Time musical, and you're all very impressed. I can throw up the applause that I live for, and I can take a moment, drink it all in because it feels good. All right, now also, if I ask you guys a yes or no question, you can say yes like this, you can say no like this. Maybe I say something funny, if you like showing me you're laughing, you can do this laughing emoji type thing like this. And then there's this. This is not how you ask a question. This is how you alert me in case there's like a problem or something like that. Like maybe, for example, I'm moving my hands around like this and it looks like I'm talking, and you're like, "What's going on? He's moving around. It looks like he's talking, but there's no sound coming out," right? And now if I see one hand go up like that, I'm just going to keep on going, right? But if I see like a bunch of them, like there's 5 or 10 hands going up on one, I know there's a problem I need to address. Like maybe the display is caught on fire. That's happened because our mods have a sense of humor, and sometimes they do special effects and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a good thing to let me know about. All right, it's also a good idea to leave these panels open during events like this. Gives me feedback, lets me know how I'm doing, but more importantly, it lets the people around you know what you're experiencing. So if the person next to you starts going like this, that means they think something's funny, and you may not agree. You might be like, "That's not funny at all," and I'm going to go stand over here, and you can totally do that because this is VR. All right, now before I get going, let me get an idea how to set out here. If you can show me some hearts if you're on a quest right now. How many quest users do we have here today? Let me see. The hands going up, that works too. Body language works very good. Oh, wow. That's a lot. Okay. All right. So let's see. How many of you are, are new to Altspace? Show me some smiles if you're new to Altspace. All right. Cool. Welcome to Altspace. Wow. A lot of new users. Okay. And how many of you are actually new to the quest itself? Like you recently got your quest. And show me some smiles if you just got your quest. Congratulations. That's awesome. All right. A couple of you. A few. Well, okay. A lot of new questions. Okay. Gives me some idea. How many of you were on an Oculus Go and upgraded to a Quest? Anybody change devices? All right. Okay. A few. No. There we go. A few. Okay. Cool. All right. Gives me some idea. Thanks for that, guys. All right. So let's see. When I was first waiting on my Quest to arrive, I was coming from an Oculus Go. Right. And I'd been in Altspace for a long time before that. And I had, I'd been going by on one hand. Now I grew up in Brooklyn, right? So I'm used to talking with my hands a lot. But in Altspace, I kept going with the one hand like this. And I didn't feel like I was expressing myself as fully as I could. So I couldn't wait for that second controller because I really wanted this other hand. But it turns out that these controllers, right? They're so much more than your hands. They're also your feet. They're how you move around. They're how you interact with the environment. And when they first arrived, I took a good look at the controllers, and those are a lot of buttons. They really are. And if you're just starting out, it can be a lot to take in. It takes a couple of days to about a week or so to really adjust to it. I like to go over some of the control options here. And if you're already familiar with them, because look, some stuff you have down. If you're here today, you already know the left thumbstick moves you around like this. The right thumbstick turns you in these circles. And when you combine them, you get these big elaborate circles that make my presentation so much more dramatic. If everybody could do that, go in like a large circle like this, to me, it looks like when I look out, it looks like you guys are ballroom dancing. Let me get a look. Let me see what that looks like. Everybody go in those big circles there. Let me see. All right, not too organized today. Not so much like ballroom day. Oh, now it's starting to take shape. I'm gonna jump in there. I'm gonna do that too. I'm going in these big circles. And I always like to say, I wish you guys could see like what I see, because when you look out off the stage, you see everybody going like this. It looks really cool. And now you can, because we have a YouTube channel. If you look, you see Raven Eye that's floating up there. And if you want to wave on out to YouTube, you absolutely can do that. Hey, YouTube, how's it going? Who do we got here today? We got Teddy Tyler in the pink here. We got Mike, great name, Mike. And we also got Jay. We've got the muted person. We've got Minamoto. We've got Tom. We got a lot of people here today. I can't read off everybody's names, but hey, YouTube, how's it going? So you can turn around and wave to the camera if you want to. All right, now, if you're already familiar with these controls, don't worry. We'd like to make it fun by doing some movement stuff, and at the same time, give some of the newer users a chance to get skilled up and learn this stuff. First stuff we're going to talk about here is we've got on the right controller and the left controller, you have these grip buttons here. This is going to allow you to interact with your environment. This is how you grab like fireworks and sparklers, marshmallows, the bean bags and the campfire, all that stuff. And if you're in the world's beta building or world's beta building program, yeah, that's how you say that. What you can do is you're going to notice when you grab something in the world editor, right, that the behavior of your right thumbstick is going to change, right? No longer is it going to turn you. Like you may like put a turn, and you're going to notice that the object gets bigger. You got to keep in mind that when you turn your thumbstick on the right controller, left or right, when you're grabbing a world object, when you're editing a world, that's going to make the object larger or smaller. If you move that thumbstick forward or back, it's going to push that object away or pull it closer to you. It's important to keep that in mind, right? There's also, so some of these thumbsticks will have more than one behavior. Now, while these are a lot of buttons to take in, it's important to keep in mind that some of these buttons do the same thing. So like you have this select button on your right controller, you have this right trigger, and if you have your left pointer enabled through your main menu, you've got this left select button. Now these all do the same thing. Like if you take your hand right now and you hold down like the right trigger and you move through the crowd, like you move through the audience here, you're gonna see everybody's name tags appearing above their head. That's how I know everybody's names so fast. That's how I know that's Mike, and you got Mike B. A lot of Mikes here today. That's cool, Power to the mics. All right, so what else do we have here? You have, let's see. Also, it's important to keep in mind that on an Oculus Quest, you need to worry about your vertical height. So if like the first time I came in on a Quest, I went to the campfire, right? And I felt like I was really, kind of floating on air. I felt like I was a little bit above everybody. And look at everybody. And I noticed all the avatars are shorter than I am. And I'm like, why am I so tall all of a sudden? Right? What could happen is if you move up or down in your vertical space, your avatar's height is going to change. Fortunately, this is, it happens a lot, and it's really easy to fix. Like Zach just went up here. If Zach could help me out. Zach, show everybody what happens when you press down on your left thumbstick. And go, or boom, like that. See how it snaps into place? Every time you press down on the left thumbstick, it's going to adjust your vertical height. So if you're feeling too tall or you're feeling too short, you just press down on that left thumbstick, and it's going to snap you right into place. All right? That's, it's pretty handy that way, right? Speaking of handy, there's some, you're going to keep in mind if you're having like a room scale experience, you're going to notice there are going to be times when you walk out past your main menu, and usually that's about the time somebody says, hey, open your main menu, and you're like, oh man, where is this thing? And you start looking around for it, right? And it's always behind you when that happens for some reason. What you got to remember is on an Oculus Quest, your main menu is in your hands at all times. On your left controller, you're going to notice there is I lost my pointer here. All right, on the left controller, you're going to notice there is a flat button right here on the bottom. When you press that, your main menu is going to open up. I'll be honest with you, I haven't touched the blue and white triangle button in months. All I do now when I need to open my main menu is I flick my hand out like that. You don't need to do the hand flick like that. I just like to do it. You just press on that flat button on your left controller, right? So like right now, my menu's open. Right now, my menu's closed. You could just do it just like that. It's pretty useful there. All right, now another button you have here is this left trigger here. Now, keep in mind, this is going to enable you to go faster when you're walking or flying, right? So if I hold it down, I start to accelerate. I can throw myself into the crowd, right? And start going in this big circles, right? Maybe we can make a hurricane. Everybody join me, go in a circle. Unless you're getting dizzy. If you get dizzy, don't do that thing, right? So everybody kind of spinning around. Come on, everybody, let's make a hurricane. Let's see if we go in a circle here. Let's get a look at, see how you guys are doing. Let's see here. What do we got? Let me see. All right. Not a great formation today. It's kind of, not really like a whirlwind, kind of like a, I don't even know how I would describe that. Not really like a circle even. It's kind of just, really, it's all over the place. We don't have to work on that. All right. I'm disappointed, audience. I really am. Okay, let's see what else do we have here. Now, let's see. On you also have on the right and left control, you have these teleport buttons, right? And this is going to enable you, I'm hoping you're in a line dash teleport transition. What you can do is if you line up against this wall here, right? And if you hold down on one of these teleport buttons, let's take the right controller first. What you're going to notice is if you aim at the floor, you're going to have your teleport target. Right? And what you could do is aim right across the room toward that wall, and as soon as you let go of the button, boom, you get thrown right across the room, right? Now, if everybody can teleport on over this wall here, right? Cool. All right, now, if you hold down your left teleport button and aim back to the other wall, right? You hold down, you aim that circle over there, and as soon as you let go, boom, you get thrown right across the room. Another cool thing you can do is you can hold down both teleport buttons at once and make kind of an X on the floor, and this is going to make you do this like zigzag if you let go at the same time. So like I go zig and I zag like that. All right. Another thing you can do too is like say you're facing the stage area here, right? And you start moving backwards and you aim at the ground. You can even hold down the accelerator button to make it go fast, right? You can sit there and teleport again and again, kind of do the Altspace moonwalk like that, right? Another thing you can do, I recently found this out. I was doing another event and I'm down in the audience like I don't like to do. And what I did was I had to get back up on stage, and it was kind of a reflex. I'd never tried this before, but I reached my hand over my shoulder like this, right? And I teleported backwards. So you can teleport backwards. I never realized you could do that. You can go ahead and try that. You just put the hand over like that, and then boom, you can go teleport backwards. It's pretty neat. All right, this gives you a lot of options. So like the first time I started playing with this stuff, I was at the Universe. So back then it was held in a really large world. And when the event was over, I went exploring it, and I walked over to the edge of the world, and I'm looking over the edge, and all of a sudden I fell. Right? And as I'm falling, I look over and I see this cliff, and I aim with my teleport, button there, and I get the lock on a target, and I let go, and all of a sudden, as soon as I did that, I was flung onto that cliff, and I saved myself from respawning. And in that moment, I realized I was finally starting to get used to the controllers. And you will too. It only takes about, it takes about a week really. But there's going to come a point. Listen, you're always going to feel the plastic in your hands of the controllers, but there's going to come a point where these become your hands. You don't really think about it. Like if I say, hey, everybody, look out that window. I don't think about how I'm pointing. I just do it. And the way you can do that is if you hold down your middle finger, right? That's your grip button there. And you'll see if you hold that down, you're pointing, right? If you hold down your left grip button there, now I'm pointing with both hands. I can give everybody like a Brooklyn hello. Everybody go like this. Give me a Brooklyn hello. There we go. Nice. Cool body language. Awesome. Another thing you can do is you can put these together and you can make the Altspace logo. And you hold it up right there. Give me some Altspace logo like that. All right. Very nice. That looks cool. All right, you hold it up nice and high. Let me see, who is that? We got Zach. Zach, put him up high. Lift that up. There we go. Nice, very cool. All right, now you can do is like turn your hands around. You can make it like a picture. Make this moment last forever. You can squeeze the trigger to get that little shutter action. I think it'd be cool if you could actually take a screenshot like that. That would be a neat thing to add, right? And speaking of your trigger fingers, if you're squeezing your trigger fingers, you can give me 2 thumbs up. Maybe give me 2 thumbs down, right? Maybe you haven't made up your mind yet. You can give me a little bit of both. Maybe you can put them together like this. Right? There's all different options there. If you actually touch your thumbs to the buttons or the thumbstick without pushing down, you're going to find that your thumbs go up and down. And you can combine this into a variety of gestures. One of the first quest times we had, a few people came up to the stage before it started, and they started going like this right before it began. And I thought that was pretty cool. Now, when you see somebody doing a gesture that you like, right, what you can do is mirror them. It's the best way to pick this stuff up. So if somebody's doing something cool, do it back, and this way you'll get a handle on it. And then after a while, these gestures will become a reflex. So like in Altspace, when I go to point, I don't think about how I'm pointing. I just do it. It actually takes more effort to explain it than it does, to do it. All right. So let's see. What else do we have here? We have, let's see. Oh yeah, there's another, there's another button to go over here. And don't press this now because if it disappears, I'm going to feel it. But the best way to leave Altspace is this Oculus home button, the flat button on your right controller. And I've come to think of this as an eject button. It's really the best way to leave Altspace. So if somebody comes in your space and says, hey, dinner's ready, right? Something important like that, right? You just hit that flat button and then you press quit, and that's going to ensure that you've logged out properly. It's a great way to do it. Now, also, it's a good button to press when things go wrong. So for example, like maybe, you turn your head. I don't know if you've experienced this, but sometimes in Altspace, like if you turn your head, the whole world moves with you. That can make you feel kind of sick when that happens, right? So what you can do is you just press the IC nods. Somebody else has been through that. It doesn't feel cool when it happens. So you need a quick way to get out. So, having that sick feeling isn't good. So you press that flat button there, right? And you press quit, and then you restart the app. This is going to take care of most of the problems that you're going to have in here. But occasionally, sometimes what will happen is like something will go wrong, and pressing that flat button won't work because your device is frozen. Like you look up and there'll be this black void, and you look to the left, to the right, and you look down, there's black voids all around the edge of the screen. You see all your friends frozen in space like this, and something's gone horribly wrong. What do? Well, you're going to restart your device. And the way to do this is, like, listen, when I first came in Altspace on a Quest, I used to restart my device by taking my headset off. If your device isn't in a charge cycle, what can happen is that light's not going on. So when when you have it plugged in there, and you may get the feeling like, because it takes so long to reset it, especially if you're in a rush, you may get the feeling like there's something wrong with your device. So I've gotten into the habit, and I can't recommend this enough, restart the device while it's still on your head. And the way you do this is you take your index finger, right, and you feel on the side of your device, and you're going to feel that there's a raised up button there. That's a power button, right? Now you take your left index finger and you put it on the other side. And what you do is you squeeze them fingers, together, right? And you look down and you concentrate really deep. And after about 4 seconds, you concentrate so hard that your avatar disappears and you get plunged into the darkness as your device turns off, but you don't let go. After about maybe 10 seconds, you start wondering, why did Oculus make it take so long to restart your device? I don't know. And then I actually do make it a little bit less time, but about 15 seconds go by and you start thinking about friends you haven't seen in years. You wonder how they're doing, right? And after about 20 seconds, just start thinking about life, the big questions. And then after about 22 seconds or so, you're going to notice out of the darkness emerges the Oculus logo. And when it starts pulsing, you just take your fingers away like that, right? And then your device is going to start up normally. Then you restart the app, you come back in Altspace. And this is going to take care of almost all the problems that you're going to have, not only in Altspace, but on the device in general. All right. It is a pretty reliable device. There aren't really too many issues. And this is going to take care of most of them. So when you notice something going wrong, just, doing that concentration pose will be a really great way to clear things up. Occasionally, when something severe happens, though, it pays to know about the factory reset. But keep in mind, there's a risk doing this. You're going to lose all of your apps. You're going to have to re-download them all. Good news is you won't have to pay for them again. If you have any photos on your device, you're going to lose those. You might even lose something really important like your Beat Saber scores. All right. And a good time to do something like this, just as an example, is I came out of Altspace once and I got this message on my headset saying Oculus Home is now closing. And there was this this blue button to press OK. It was the only option. So I said OK. And then all of a sudden, all it said was loading in front of me. And then I went to restart my device, did that deep concentration pose like that. Right. And as soon as the device restarted, it just said loading. Right. So it couldn't actually go to the Oculus Home because Oculus Home was closing. Right. So I was concerned and I thought my device was broken. So I went and I asked Google about it. And Google said that after the firmware update, a lot of people were going through this. And the best thing you could do was by doing a factory reset. Right. So it pays to know that that's an option, but understand that, you're going to lose all your photos and all that kind of stuff. It's basically like getting your device all over again. Now, if you're here today, you're already familiar with the Guardian system, because, you've done the tour, right? You danced with the robot, you played with the blimp, you did all that fun stuff. But what you may not be familiar with is how to use the Guardian system to your benefit in Altspace. And the way you can do this is like, let's say that, you experience, you're new to VR and you experience motion sickness and you get a little dizzy in Altspace. What you can do is, and this is on any device really, is if you look at your hand, like take a good look at your hand and focus on that. If you start to feel dizzy, just focus on your hand, right? And when the dizziness starts to pass, slowly take away that hand and take in the world around you. That can really help with it. But you can also use your Guardian system to do this too. Now, when you mess around with your Guardian system, it's important to remember, because I've seen this happen a lot in Altspace. You see somebody walking along, right? And all of a sudden they'll go like that, boom. And you can actually see them hit the wall in the real world. You got to be very aware of your space. And one way you can do this when you're first starting out is you lead with your hands, right? And when you lead with your hands, when you get to the edge and you see that, that grid come up in the air in front of you, right? Bear in mind, you can still touch your thumbsticks, so you can still move your avatar around. So if I go to my real world wall right now, I walk up to it, right? And I put my hands out like in front of me and I see that grid appear. I can move my thumbsticks. So now I'm still facing that real world wall, but I'm moving my avatar around in Altspace. And what I can do is I can line up that wall with this display here, right? And when I do that, I'm kind of connected to the real world right now. So if the worst should happen, I should suddenly fall off the stage and I fall into the audience, right? And you guys start messing with me, go ahead and try to make me dizzy, right? Just stick your hands in my face and just go ahead and mess with me. Really, nobody? Everyone's being really polite today. Yeah, all right, good. All right, so just start putting hands in the face there. All right, give me the worst you got. So far, it's not that bad. As long as I can see that display, you'll notice my sentences aren't breaking. I'm not losing track of what I'm saying. It's not really, it's a little distracting, but it's really not that bad. You've got the big giant display in front of me and I can still see it, right? Really, that's just kind of an easy crowd today. Okay. Let's see, usually a lot more enthusiasm behind that. People just kind of pile on. But yeah, what you can, now, the reason that works is it doesn't have to be something big like this display here. You can take, say, we take the edge of the stage here, right? And you can line that up with your real world table or your real world desk or something like that, And this is actually going to connect you to the real world, and it's going to make you feel more stable, and you'll experience dizziness a lot less if you have a frame of reference like that. Now, another thing you can do in Altspace that's pretty cool is you can actually transition between a room scale to a seated experience effortlessly. So let's say I'm up here and I'm I got 2 events today and I'm really tired. I'm really feeling it, I need a break. What I can do is I can stick my hands out, right? And I walk to the edge of my Guardian, right? And make sure I got enough room for my head to pass through. And as soon as I stick my head through, the pass-through camera goes off, right? So I go, I'm looking around, right? And I say, I got my coffee right here, take a sip of that, it's good stuff, right? And then I notice I got my chair right over here. So what I can do is I can go into my chair over here, and now, now I can see the real world, right? And there's the, blue button if I want to switch to a, stationary experience. So I sit in that chair right there, and I press on that blue button, right? And as soon as I do, right, I find that, VR comes back into view. And I find not only does it come back into view, but I'm still in Altspace. I never actually left. It works in the other direction too. Like if, well, there was this one time I was moderating an event, right? And I felt like getting up and walking around. It's a big field for me. So I went and I, stood up and I thought I'd just walk into my Guardian, right? Because usually it's like that. But occasionally on the Quest can lose your Guardian system due to like, changing light levels. Maybe it's wall space and it just wants you to redraw the boundary. Normally that's not a big deal, but when there's 2 minutes left in the event, it's a pretty big deal. And I started worrying them. I got to get back in. So I'm drawing out my boundary here, right? I'm drawing down on the floor and I'm like, man, why is my play space so big? Of all the times I had a mod for an admin, why did it have to be today? And I started drawing it out. And as soon as I close the loop there, the grid comes right back up like that, right? Out of the ground. And I find not only am I still in VR, but I'm still in Altspace. I never actually left. All anybody sees when that happens is your avatar's like frozen in space like this. I always pause there, right? And it's funny. One time I actually lost my internet connection when that happened. So everybody was like left behind. They're like standing here in the audience, like looking and they're like, wow, he's really, dedicated to this dramatic cause, right? He's really invested in the role. He's got range. Look at that. So yeah, it was pretty funny. But it was only gone for a minute. Came back. It was a good laugh. But yeah, but all anyone's going to see is your avatar frozen like that. You can go back and forth. So it's important to remember that you can switch back and forth. And this will enable you to be more comfortable. When you're in VR, and not just in Altspace. It works in a variety of applications like that. First, I see you have your hand raised there. We'll be taking questions at the end. Just we're getting there, so hang on to that. Let's say another thing you can do that's pretty cool is you can actually combine, like, so if you go up to the edge of your Guardian system, right, where the pass-through camera goes off, right, what you can do is, when it goes off like that, if you do it really slow, there's kind of a sweet spot where you'll be able to see both realities at the same time. This is pretty neat. This is going to enable you to see Altspace avatars in your real-world environment. It's not really useful, but it does give you an idea of the scale. Like you'll get a note. I never realized that Altspace avatars was so tall, right? I'd say they're about 6 feet tall. Their heads are really wide, and you're not going to really notice this until you see them in a familiar environment. The home space that you play in there. All right, or play space. Yeah. All right. So what else do we have here? We have let's see. The great thing about the Quest is it just works, right? And it doesn't mean it can't work better. There's a lot of accessories that are available for the Quest that can make it a more rich experience. Like you're going to notice that for the earbuds that they have, right? They kind of dangle down from the side, right? Kind of make you look fancy when you're in VR because they're kind of like earrings for your headset, right? When mine first came, I went to try them out, so I went to the campfire. And you guys know there's a breeze in the campfire? I never realized it. I've been using the Quest for a while, and I've gotten used to what really incredible sound that the Quest has. There's no feedback or anything like that. It's really rich and full sound. But as soon as I got these earbuds, all of a sudden I could hear so much more of what was going on. Like there's this fence by the campfire, right? You go up by the river there, and you can hear the water rushing. I'd never heard that before. I've been in Altspace for like a year. So, it's cool to try that out. There's also these VR Cover makes these inserts. Listen, a lot of people say that the Quest isn't comfortable. And I don't think Oculus does enough to advertise this, but there's a breaking in period, right? So when I first got my Quest, I thought it was pretty uncomfortable. I had like a sore on my head that developed from use. And it turns out that the oils in your face actually soften the material, and it actually changes the balance and the tensions on the springs and everything. So there's sort of a breaking in period. And what will happen is people will get the Quest, they'll think it's uncomfortable, and they'll go to modify the device. So they'll start buying things like external battery packs, counterweights, things like that to change it and make it more comfortable. And really what happens then is about another week or so after that, the balance changes again because this headset gets broken in, and they're left with the impression the Quest isn't comfortable, and it's not true. You just got to give it time to break in before you do any of these modifications. So if you've had it for like, a week or two, you still find it to be uncomfortable, that's the time to try this kind of stuff. Not before. A lot of people do it too soon. So, if you just got your Quest and you think, man, this is really painful, right? Keep your eye on something like one of these covers here. This way, if in about a week or so after the device is, broken in, if you still find it uncomfortable, then you can start to modify it by getting like face inserts or counterbalances or external battery packs or things like that, to change the balance of the weight of it, right? Let's see. Also, you have, if you wear glasses, you got prescription lenses. Those are good to get because you want to, it's bad enough if you scratch your VR, your headset there, but it's if you scratch your glasses too, that can get pretty expensive. So it's a great way to protect your stuff. Speaking of protecting your stuff, the box that the Quest comes in is really great. But if you're going to be moving around a lot, you may want to try with travel cases. They're a great way to protect your device when it's not in use. Because listen, if something happens to your device, it's not like losing your toaster. If you spend a lot of time in VR and you've made friendships and stuff like that in here, what can happen is if something happens to your headset, like you left it on the table one night and, maybe the sunlight came in and damaged your headset. Sunlight can do that. And, you're going to experience, it's not like losing your toaster. You're going to experience this as an actual loss. All right. Now let's see here. We're going to be taking your questions now, if you have any. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the raise hand button appear as if by magic on your right. So if you have a question or a comment or something like that, there we go. You can just press that raise hand button and we'll get you on the list there. Maybe you tried an accessory that I haven't mentioned there. Let's see. Oh, it's really filling up today. All right, cool. We got Jack. Jack, you're on the air. What's going on, Jack? Jack?
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. What's up? Hey, Jack.
Hey, I have a question about the Quest for Oculus Quest users.
Okay.
So I'm a Rift S user. I don't really use the Quest that much, but
Okay.
today on my Rift S, I just noticed tracking loss, and I was wondering if tracking loss is a huge problem on the Quest, like where just the cameras aren't even
You know what
connected.
is interesting about that is that occasionally Oculus does firmware updates. So when there is an issue, like for example on the Quest, if anyone uses the link cable, you may have noticed that certain applications like big screen, you're going to notice that your microphone inside the headset doesn't work, and you're going to have to use like a headset with a microphone externally to get it to work. But recently, like I think it was a couple weeks ago, Oculus pushed a firmware update that took care of that, and now that microphone is working in other apps now, right? So it's a lot like that. So sometimes there'll be an issue like you're talking about with the tracking, and then in a week or two it'll clear up when they push a firmware update. Did this recently start for you, Jack?
Started like around a month ago,
About a month ago. All
and
right.
I've been
Um,
and I sent my device in, and and I haven't gotten anything back yet. So I'm on my Odyssey right now,
oh wow.
which is a
Okay.
good
Well, I
headset.
hope it clears up if they bring it back. You wrote
Oh yeah,
Oculus before you sent it back telling them what the issue was? What'd they say?
oh yeah. Um, I haven't, or or they're gonna send me a new Rift S, but the Rift S is out of stock. And they don't even really have any replacements.
Wow. Well, you could try doing a Quest, right? With the link cable, it's a lot like having a Rift S unfold. I've heard people who compared the experiences saying it's like very similar. You know, to
Yeah,
do
I was
that
thinking
too.
about getting the Quest with the link cable or getting the original Oculus Rift because you can now buy that again from Oculus.
Oh, nice. Cool deal. Oh, I hope it clears up.
Nice,
Occasionally
thank
there
you.
have been tracking issues, though. One thing you can do is in the settings menu, at least on Quest, I don't know how it is on the Rift, but in the settings menu, they have different frequencies that you can put the controllers on. Sometimes that can clear it
Okay.
up. All right, let's see.
All
Who else
right,
do we
thank.
have? Let's see. Oh, okay, the list cleared out. Does anybody have any other questions or comments or anything like that? You just press that raise hand button to get you on there. Let's see. Anybody? No? Okay, cool. Actually, we have Christian, so we'll get time for one more. Hey, Christian, what's up? Where are you?
Um,
Here.
so earlier you were talking about the grid when you switch from virtual reality to real world. They
Yes.
actually I want to make a comment saying that they actually updated that to where you can double tap the side of your Quest and it'll like turn on the black and white camera mode.
Wait a minute. This is a new thing. I haven't heard this. You double quest the side with a
So
power button, you mean? Because they
yeah,
used to
you
have it
go
on I know on
into
the Rift you can hit the flat button on your right controller and you hit that twice, the pass through camera will go off.
well, it's in one of the experimental features. Instead of having to walk outside of your play area, all you have to do
Hmm.
is like tap either side of your Quest, double tap it, and it'll switch you to the real world. And
Wow.
to go back to virtual reality, you double tap once again.
Oh, that's
Pretty
cool.
cool. I
I'm looking
just found
forward
that
to
out.
trying that.
Yeah.
That sounds super useful. I like that. No more lifting up the headset. That's awesome. All right, because
Right.
it's funny when we do these events, like before they start out, all the time, like my slides will fall over, and I've got to like kind of like peek out through the nose hole, and now I'll just be like, "Excuse me, everybody, tap tap," and then I'll just be able to see them. Yeah, that's cool. I'm looking forward to trying that. Thanks, Rich. That's really great information.
Yeah.
All right, now at the end of our events, we take everybody flying. So if I didn't call on you for a question or comment, feel free to join us when we go to the next space. If you have any questions or comments, we usually take everybody flying there. And for that, we have a cool transition effect. It's a place we go flying. We have these ships, these hovercrafts that you guys can fly around in. And we're going to see one of them now when I press this big red button. When I press this big red button, an announcement's going to play. And if you direct your attention out that window, you're going to see a Ravenhall Talon hovercraft fly by. It's going to go up over those trees there, and it's going to land in the yard there and take us out. But before we get going, I want to ask if you guys have learned anything today. Please share that with those you come in contact with. So if, like, say you're standing at a campfire and there's an avatar like stuck in the ground, right? And you go up to them and you're like, "What's wrong?" And they look at you and they go, "I'm on a quest." and I'm stuck in the ground, right? You just tell them to press down on that left thumbstick. They'll pop up and they'll feel better. You'll feel better because you help somebody. And that's kind of how, we keep this thing going, right? All right, so now I'm going to press that button here, all right? So everybody direct your attention out the window.
Ravenhall Talon aircraft en route to your position.
Here it comes. All right, now if we head on outside, we'll go in the backyard area, we'll meet this ship here, and it'll take us to Ravenhall Flight Academy where we can teach you guys to fly. And if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, you can meet us there. But in the meantime, thank you everybody for joining us, and see you next time. All right, here he comes. It's coming down, everybody. Here we go.
Talon aircraft is now boarding outside for transport to the Ravenhall Flight Academy. Please exit the building and step into the blue light. Thank you.
All right, everybody. I'll see you there. Thanks for coming.